the two Giles brothers and Robert Fripp had known each other from Bournemouth in England, southern town in England, formed Giles and Fripp, and but after a point they wanted to move on or expand in some way, and in the meantime I had got together with Judy Dybel. We put an ad in Melody Maker, and we got a call from Peter Giles and said, why don't you come on over, we've got a little recording set up, and Judy and I went over to meet Giles and Fripp, and we just basically joined Giles and Fripp, so it became GG&F plus 2. Judy then moved on, so sort of 4 of us, and then Greg came in to replace Peter Giles on bass and lead vocals, and that was basically King Crimson. I brought my friend Peter Sinfield along, who was my writing partner at the time, lyric writer at the time, and he came on board and saw great things for the band, and injected some, a lot of enthusiasm and ideas for the band, and so he's really a 5th member. He's not a participating musical member, but he's very, very important, and of course he wrote the lyrics, which is of course essential. But his backstage input was also very, very strong too. The making of the album, In the Court of the Crimson King, not to get ahead of ourselves, but that was basically we sort of learning on the job. I mean, we decided to produce it ourselves, and I took a prominent role in that process, and we just figured it out as we went along. We only had 8 tracks to work with, and I think I just took to producing quite naturally, actually, and that's really what I probably do best. The others, Mike Giles and Robert, had a little more experience in the studio than I had. In fact, because they had recorded Giles and Fripp, even though they didn't produce them themselves, they had some professional studio experience that was recorded at Decca Studios, and that in fact was my very first professional the first time I walked into a professional studio and put on headphones and heard what it sounded like, because I did some additional material for Giles and Fripp. They did some, I think I put some clarinet on one of the songs and this sort of thing. But the improvisations were a very important part of what King Crimson was about. You don't hear so much of that on the first album, but you get, there's a hint of it with the Moonchild improvisation. But live, there were definitely 2 distinct parts of our show. One was doing the more arranged material, like in the Court and Epitaph and things like that. But a large percentage of the material was basically jumping off points, was for improvisations. For instance, the Donovan song "Get Thy Bearings" was it's a great song, but we used it as a sort of a vehicle to just to improvise on. And some of Mike's so-called drum solos were just hilarious, because they were just non-drum solos, and he would just do the silliest stuff, just muttering into his bass drums and all this sort of stuff, and it was just great. And we had a lot of fun, and we were blowing the audiences away. They'd never heard anything like it. One felt we could go, you could go anywhere and have the support of the others, or even, in perverse ways, we would not support each other, just to play games, just to put each other, out there on the high wire just for a little while, and just I might start an idea, and Mike may feel like he doesn't want to go in that direction, so but at the same time, it was even there, it was done knowing that we had implicit trust, absolute trust in the others, and it was fun. It was done with a tremendous amount of humor. I mean, the image of King Crimson is this sort of like monsters band, but it was so much fun. It was we were just having a laugh. And we were fortunate enough to to get a loan in order to buy amplifiers and drums and things like that, and to be able to rehearse. But other than that, you know, we were had to do everything ourselves, and you know, and Pete built these little light boxes from plywood and silver, you know, silver paper and all that sort of thing, and he would do the sound also, you know, the gigs, and so yeah, that's how it was. I'm not sure whose idea it was, but probably Pete. Actually, it might be Peter's. That the name King Crimson came from the song, and that's hopefully, in a nutshell, how King Crimson came about.